Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Our Independence Day celebration gets underway with episodes of Life with Luigi starring J. Carrol Naish, The Penny Singleton Show, Anthology, Columbia Presents Corwin, and Superman. That's all straight ahead on this Sure Happy It's Thursday, 4th day of July, the 186th day of the year, and we do have 180 days remaining till we get to 2025. U.S. declared independence from Great Britain on this date in 1776, and that's why we call it Independence Day. The phrase 4th of July acquired widespread significance as a reference to the Independence Day celebration in the U.S. and the celebration's many cultural accoutrements, okay? Yeah, same thing. Henry David Thoreau moved into his shack on Walden Pond on this date in 1845. 1862, Lewis Carroll first told the story of Alice's adventures underground to the Liddell sisters. 1884, the Statue of Liberty presented to the U.S. in Paris. In 1895, Catherine Lee Bates published America the Beautiful. In 1939, Lou Gehrig, stricken with ALS, made his farewell at Yankee Stadium.
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
The Yankees retired Gehrig's uniform number 4, making him the first player in Major League Baseball history to be accorded that honor. In 1986, Farm Aid 2 in Austin, Texas.
Me and a lot of other people, all the musicians backstage, all you folks out front, are here to help the American farmer. He needs our help, and we're here to let the world know that he needs our help, and he needs your help too. So let's make today a great historical day and a big positive day for the American family farmer, and welcome to Farm Aid 2.
Among the acts included on that huge show, Alabama, the Beach Boys, the Bellamy Brothers, Judy Collins, Rita Coolidge, Bob Dylan. Also Exile, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, Emmylou Harris, Julio Iglesias, Rick James, Jason and the Scorchers, Waylon Jennings, George Jones, Bon Jovi, Nicoletta Larson, Los Lobos, John Mellencamp, Willie Nelson, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Steppenwolf, Taj Mahal, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Joe Walsh, Neil Young, and they raised over $1 million for Farm Aid 2. In 1997, the U.S. Pathfinder probe landed on Mars. In 2004, the cornerstone of the Freedom Tower laid on the World Trade Center site in New York City. And in 2009, the Statue of Liberty's crown reopened to the public after 8 years of closure due to security concerns following the September 11 attacks. Among those passing away on this date in history, several presidents, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and James Monroe. Physicist, Nobel Prize winner Marie Curie, pro wrestler Adrian Adonis, Eva Gabor passing away on this date, painter Bob Ross, Charles Kuralt went off the road for the final time, Barry White passing away on this date, and football coach Hank Stram. I went to school with several of his boys, and it was a delight to get to know them and to get to know him all those years ago. Those people passing away on this date. Now, birthdays today include songwriter Stephen Foster, President Calvin Coolidge, Ulysses S. Grant, film producer Louis B. Mayer, Rube Goldberg, the cartoonist, also Louis Armstrong, who spoke how he thought when he was young. He thought all that partying and fireworks and everything was all for him. Meyer Lansky, the mobster, band leader, TV personality Mitch Miller, Ann Landers and Abigail Van Buren, the twin sisters who wrote those columns for so many years. Ann Landers, Abigail Van Buren. Also, hotel operator, the Queen of Mean, Leona Helmsley, playwright Neil Simon, Gino Lollobrigida, and Bill Withers.
1972. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Bill Withers, born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Only a couple of birthdays to pass along. You remember her from North by Northwest and On the Waterfront? Eva Marie Saint turns 100 today. Geraldo Rivera turns 81. And President Obama's daughter Malia turns 26. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 4th day of July as their birthday. If this is your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
And the Independence Day edition of the program gets underway with an episode of Life with Luigi starring J. Carrol Naish from 74 years ago, July 4th, 1950, which will be our featured day today. And Luigi sees the 4th of July parade. That's next.
This is Debbie Reynolds. If you've been wondering what you can do to fight communism personally from your own home, there is something you can do. Support Radio Free Europe, the station built and financed by the contributions of the American public to the crusade for freedom. Radio Free Europe is one Cold War operation the communists fear and attack constantly. Support Radio Free Europe. Send your truth dollars to Crusade for Freedom, care of your local postmaster.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, another controversial show that the Italian-Americans got all bent out of shape about. Life with Luigi, starring J. Carrol Naish, from 74 years ago, July 4th, 1950. And Luigi goes to the 4th of July parade.
The makers of Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum invite you to enjoy Life with Luigi, a new comedy show created by Cy Howard and starring that celebrated actor, Mr. J. Carrol Naish, with Alan Reed as the Squally. You know, friends, Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum is a typically American product that appeals to people of all ages and nationalities in all parts of our country. And the Wrigley people feel that Life with Luigi is a typically American radio program, a friendly, enjoyable show that sort of symbolizes the American spirit of tolerance and goodwill. So the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum are glad to bring you Life with Luigi each week and have you join them in this pleasant half-hour's transcribed entertainment. And now let's read Luigi's letter as he writes about his adventures in America to his Mama Basco in Italy.
Dear Mamma Mia, today is going to be one of the biggest days of my life. I'm going to march into my first big parade since I'm in America. I'm going to remember when I'm first to come here. You know how I'm like a parades, Mamma Mia. Well, I'm a sea little one, about 5 or 6 people. So I'm get behind the men with the big bass drum. That's a go boom, boom, and I'm a march. Oh, it's a wonderful. Everybody's a calling me brother. People is a throw money at me. And when it's all over, I'm a find out I'm a member of the Salvation Army. And then a few months later, I'm seeing another parade. About 10 men. They're not going far. They're just marching up and back in the front of a store. So I'm a match too. Here they also call me brother, but nobody is a throw me pennies, and I'm a find out I'm a what they call a picket. Then a few weeks later, I'm a see in the street, another parade. This is a much longer. So again, I'm a getting a back in a match. And nobody is a calling me brother. Nobody is a throw me the pennies. Nobody is even a talking to me. Then all of the people, they take out the handkerchief. So I'm going to take out my handkerchief. And then they started to cry. So I'm going to cry too. Soon I'm going to cry louder than anybody else. Everybody is a turn to me and say, must be poor Charlie's brother. But anyway, today is going to be a real big parade for 4th of July. And I'm going to make no mistake when I'm a march there. Because in my whole night school class, they're going to march with me. And the last night when I went to my night school, my teacher, Miss Spaulding, was told us all about the parade. Oh, I remember how good I felt on my way to the class. America, I love you. You like a papa to me. From ocean to ocean.
That's what I chose. Don't worry. Everything is going to be
Quiet,
on
class, please. All right. Let's come to attention. I'll call the roll. Mr. Basco?
Here.
Mr. Horowitz?
Here.
Mr. Olson?
Here.
Mr. Schultz?
Here, present, in attendance, and at your service.
Mr. Schultz.
Oh, I'm so sorry. For a minute, I thought I was a gas station attendant. Thank you, fellow boobles.
Mr. Schultz, can I please have some quiet?
Sorry, all we got is mobile gas.
Mr. Schultz, what am I going to do with you?
Ooh, have I got a suggestion?
Mr. Schultz, please.
It's no use begging, Miss Spaulding. I'm already married.
I didn't mean Well, let's get on with our history lesson.
Uh-huh, so you think I'm cute, huh? Come on, admit it, Miss Spaulding, huh?
I do not, and...
Uh-huh, I got you flustered.
You have not. We will now discuss our history lesson. Now, everyone knows that Washington crossed the Schultz in a boat. Washington crossed the Potomac in a Schultz.
Careful, you're scraping my barnacles.
We will now get on with our history lesson. Now, class, if any of you knows the answer, raise your hand. Now, who can tell me 5 causes of the Revolutionary War?
I know, Miss Spaulding. Don't ask any further. I got the whole answer.
Oh, what a show-off. Will somebody call up Washington and have him throw Olson across the Potomac?
Mr. Olson, I know you know all the answers, but I want to see if anyone else knows. Come now, class. 5 causes of the Revolutionary War. Anybody? Well, how about 4 causes? All right, 3. 2?
Miss Spaulding, the war is over. What do you want to do, start up again?
Oh, please. Mr. Basco, do you know the answer?
No.
Mr. Horowitz?
I'm sorry, I don't carry a grudge.
Please, Miss Spaulding, no one knows. That's my turn to give the answer.
There he goes. One good apple spoils the whole rotten barrel.
Please ignore him, Mr. Olson. Go on.
5 causes of the Revolutionary War. 1. Heavy taxes on the colonies. 2. Not enough representation in government. 3. Foreign soldiers on American soil. 4. Unfair legislation. And 5. British capture of American ships.
Himmel, no wonder I hate English mustard.
That was very good, Mr. Olson. Mr. Basco, why is it you couldn't answer any of the questions?
Well, I'm spelling it to tell the truth. I was thinking of the big parade tomorrow and how happy I'm going to be too much.
Oh, yes, I'm glad you reminded me. Class, I want you to remember this carefully. Now, we're all meeting at 12 o'clock on the morning of Michigan and 16th, right by the Armory, where we'll join the parade.
I can hardly wait. This is going to be a wonderful parade.
Yeah, and I know a place on the way. A fella sells the most delicious hot dogs in the world. We're going to stop and buy from him, huh?
What for we have to buy hot dogs? My wife Esther, she'll make a wonderful strudel. Be enough for all of us.
I think hot dogs.
Oh, that was a good idea, Horowitz. Yeah, I will bring some smorgasbord and some Swedish wine for the strudel.
What's the matter with hot dogs?
Yeah, wait, but don't forget to me. I'm going to Pasquale Spaghetti Palace and order some pizza.
No, kill me. I like hot dogs.
Class, that sounds wonderful. Mr. Schultz, why do you insist on hot dogs?
Because I was the fellow who was going to be selling them. Luigi, my friend. Hello, Luigi. Hello.
Hey, Pasquale, I wonder you should do me a favor. You gotta make me a lot of pizziola. I'm gonna feed a big crowd.
Luigi, my son. I could kiss you.
Well, Pasquale, what the for? All I'm said is I wonder you should make me pizziola for a big crowd.
That's right. You taking my daughter Rosa on a picnic.
No, Pasquale, it's for a parade, and I'm going to with my night school class. How much money you want for 5 big orders of a pizza?
Money. Luigi, you think everything in life is money. There's just some things in life that money can't buy.
Like a what, Pasquale?
Like a love, a marriage, a good wife.
Pasquale, I'm not marrying you, daughter Rosa.
Please, Luigi, you marry her now, and I promise you I never ask you again.
No, Pasquale, she's too fat for me.
Luigi, be a good businessman. When you marry a woman, you must look for value.
Value?
Sure. When you buy toothpaste, what do you buy? The smaller size or the medium size?
It's no use, Pasquale. I'm not going to buy the giant economy size.
Oh, Luigi, you're talking stupid. Remember, good things, they always come in bigger packages.
You mean a little package?
Shut up. Today I'm pushing a bigger package. Luigi, you ain't using your head. Don't you know bachelor life is very good, but it ain't for single fellas. You marry my Rosa, got a nice honeymoon, all expenses are paid. You bring her back into your new house, carry her across the threshold.
Carry Rosa across the threshold? With the what?
With your arms, that's what.
Pasquale, you know I'm gonna never carry Rosa across the threshold.
All right, then I buy you a bulldozer and you push her across.
No, Pasquale, please. Rosa's a nice girl, but not for me. Just tell me, are you gonna make me food for this parade tomorrow?
No, I'm not gonna have nothing to do with it. Sit down, my little pumpkin head.
Oh, thank you, Pasquale.
Luigi, this parade means a lot to you, eh?
Oh, yes, Pasquale. I'm going to be so proud to walking in my first big parade. I'm going to feel like a real American.
Luigi, I got a way is guaranteed to make you the biggest and the best American in that parade tomorrow.
That's wonderful. How, Pasquale?
When the parade is past the reviewing stand at 9th and Michigan, you got to explode the biggest firecrackers they ever saw.
Yeah, but Pasquale, I think I'm heard that shooting off the firecrackers, that's against the law.
Oh, yes, you're right. But that was before they invented the 4th of July. After the 4th of July, they made illegal the fireworks by passing the 4th Amendment. This amendment is also called the Taft-Hartley Act, which is mean anybody can shoot off firecrackers unless their name is Taft or Hartley. What's your name?
Luigi Basco.
You lucky pup, you.
Pasquale, how you know so much about the law?
Well, I'm always like to keep misinformed. Every chance I get, I read the Washington paper, the Congressional Racket, you see. Now, Luigi, you leave everything to your good friend Pasquale. I'm going to buy you the biggest firecrackers in the town.
Oh, Pasquale, you're so wonderful to me. Hey, you think when I'm exploding the firecrackers, they're going to take my name and put my picture in the paper so I'm going to send it to Italy?
Luigi, you don't have to send your picture to Italy. They're going to send you there.
Me? What?
On a goodwill tour. Luigi, tomorrow is really going to be a big day for you. Believe me, when you explode those firecrackers, People are going to be so touched that they're going to be carried away with emotion.
Oh, Pasquale, I'm got to you to thank you for that.
That's all right, Luigi, and if my thinking is right, you're going to be carried away, too. Now, go. I'm going to take care of everything.
All right, Pasquale, and thank you for everything. Goodbye.
Goodbye, little banana nose. And remember, don't tell anybody how you're going to shoot off fireworks, because then they do it, too, and it won't be no surprise.
All right, Pasquale, I'm not telling nobody.
Yeah. So here's your 4th of July parade is more important than my roast, huh? Well, I fix him good. I'm not a mean man, but when somebody's purposely go out of his way not to marry my daughter, I'm the biggest rat in Chicago. Hello? Police department? This is Pasquale the rat. I'm in there. Fella who's a good friend of yours. I got a tip for you. My name? Sorry, but I got to keep my identity under my head. Anyway, if you stand on a Michigan and 9th tomorrow at 12 o'clock when the parade is passing by, you're going to see a fella who's just suddenly go crazy and shoot off firecrackers and no telling what else he's going to do. Huh? What kind of fella he is? Well, I'm not saying he's supervisive, but all I can tell you, he's eat only a pink of salmon, he's always sneezing in a red handkerchiefs, and his favorite drink is a Moscow Mule.
Before we return to Life with Luigi, here's a little thought that's good to keep in mind. It's the fact that Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum is really a two-way treat. It's a taste treat with lots of delicious, long-lasting flavor, and it's a chewing treat, something good that you can chew on for as long as you want. What's more, this pleasant chewing aids digestion and helps keep your teeth bright and clean, so it's especially helpful right after a meal. Enjoy healthful, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum often, and be sure that the folks at your house always have some handy. Keep a few packages on the living room table. And now let's turn to page 2 of Luigi Basco's letter to his mother in Italy.
And so, Mamma Mia, in a few minutes, the Schultzes are going to meet me here, and we're going together to my first 4th of July parade. Over there, Pasquale's going to hand me the firecrackers, and I'm going to shoot them off. Mamma mia, maybe my pictures are going to be in a newsreel. Can you imagine? One day you're going to walk into the movies in Italy, and there's going to be double feature. Luigi Basco and my friends must go west. Oh, it's going to be a big day.
Luigi, my fellow booby.
Hello, Schultz.
What's the matter, Luigi? You're talking so shaky.
Well, Schultz, I'm a little nervous. You know, it's my first parade.
Well, maybe you ought to have a little snifter, too.
You think a snifter is going to make me look better?
Who wouldn't? You should see my herrings, how beautiful they look when they are pickled. They lose all their nervousness. Last week, I pickled 2 of them, and today they were standing up in the barrel, daring me to come down and get them. Smile, Luigi. I'm only trying to cheer you up.
Oh, well, thank you, Schultz. I'm feeling better already. Hey, Schultz, look at all of this food that Pasquale is give me free for the parade.
No, stop. When Pasquale gives anything away, it's got strings attached. Rosa's apron strings.
Oh, no, Schultz, there's no strings attached. Pasquale is a very good-hearted man. While I'm walking with the parade, he's promised to take my picture with her at the new, the Polaroid camera.
What?
That's the camera where you press the button and the picture comes out in 1 minute. Is it not fast?
What's so fast? Last week I went to a picture. It was so terrible I came out in 10 seconds. Now, what other favors is Pasquale going to do for you today?
Well, Schultz, it's a secret. But you're going to find out later.
All right, well, come on. We got to go to the parade now.
All right, Schultz, come. Mamma mia, I'm feeling nervous again.
Ach, please, Luigi, stop with that nervous business. Smile, Luigi. Be like me, calm. Always happy, laughing. Ooh. My rheumatism is killing me.
Let's all stay together. We're going to join the parade in a moment, and we don't want anyone getting lost.
Oh, this is such fun. Look, I brought the Wiener Schnitzels.
Oh, and I brought some smorgasbord.
Wait, you taste my strudel.
I'm got to the pizza.
Himmel, it sounds like the United Nations with heartburn.
Well, don't worry. I brought something American, the bicarbonate of soda.
Hey, Schulze, Miss Spalding, she's a funnier than you.
Yeah, Miss Spalding, maybe you and me, we go on television together, huh? We have a program called Breakfast in Night School.
Hey, look, here comes all of the people that started a parade.
Oh, look, here comes all the factory contingents. Workers of the Dr. Scholl Footpad Company.
They must be breaking in a new shipment of arch supports.
Oh, look how heavy they stamp up and down.
Hey, look, here's another one. Yeah. Workers of the Swanson a Chicken and Fricassee Company.
Yeah, and look at that drum major. Instead of carrying a baton, he is waving a chicken.
All right, night school classes. All
right, class. The parade captain is motioning us. Mr. Basco. Mr. Basco.
Yes, sir?
You carry the flag.
Me carry the flag? Mamma mia.
Hey, Luigi, here I am on the sidewalk.
Hey, Pasquale, look at me. I'm carrying the flag.
Give me the flag at the Horowitz and come on over here.
What? Oh, yes, sir. Hey, Horowitz, please, hold this flag for me. I'm coming right the back.
Mr. Basco, where are you going?
Hey, it's a surprise. I'm coming right the back.
Oh, don't be too long, Luigi.
All right. Hey, Pasquale, what is it, the stuff you brought?
Here, Luigi, here's the firecrackers, here's the matches, and you light them.
All right. Hey, Pasquale, where you going?
I'm gonna call a cop and make sure he don't miss you.
Thank you, Pasquale. Hey, look, everybody, look. Well, now I'm gonna light this one. Hey, now, look at this one. Hey, what's the matter? Why are you all running away?
Hey, who's lighting all these firecrackers?
That's me, officer. I'm the one.
Oh, yeah? Let me have that.
All right, here. Mamma mia, what's happening to the policeman?
Luigi, I tell you, you got nothing to worry about. I'm gonna get you the best lawyer there is, and I'll have you out of jail in 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, but Pasquale, you told me it was not against the law to shoot off the firecrackers.
Well, I made a mistake. But believe me, the whole thing was purely intentional. Besides, who told you to hand the cop the firecracker in his hand? You know, when he climbed down from that lamppost, he was ready to kill you.
Mamma mia, that's the worst day of my life. I would do anything to get out of this.
Anything, Luigi?
Well, almost anything.
Listen, Luigi, visiting time is almost up. In 2 minutes, you're going to be up in front of the judge. If you marry my Rose, I get the best lawyer in the town. We put up your bail. He's the habeas corpus. Then we drag your case through the court to 5 or 6 years. By that time, you get your citizen papers and cases are dismissed. What do you say, my son?
All right, Papa.
Good. I call in the bashful bride. Rosa! Rosa! Rosa!
You called me Papa?
Come here, my little shrinking violet. Say hello to Luigi.
Hello, Rosa.
Rosa, guess what? Luigi is about to offer you his hand. What do you say to that?
Papa, what am I going to do with 3 hands?
Oh, shut up your face.
All right, time's up. Vasco, follow me.
Don't worry, Luigi. I'm going to take care of everything.
Hear ye, hear ye. Court is now in session. Judge Mitchell presiding.
Your Honor, all these men here are charged with violation of the fireworks ordinance.
Please, Your Honor, I'm going to try to be good American. I'm no noise against the law.
Pay no attention to that fellow, Judge. He should get the good lawyer to defend him.
Quiet. I'll have no comments in the courtroom.
No, stop. I heard all about it and I came as quick as I could. It's not Luigi's fault. It's that Pasquale. He got Luigi all verschimmelt.
Quiet. If I hear another outburst, I'll clear this court. Now, you men. Every year at this time, I get a group of men who continue violating a very important safety ordinance. Almost every city in the United States has a 4th of July spectacle where you may witness a fireworks display in a safe and sane way. Why you persist in endangering your life and the lives of your children and your property, I cannot understand.
But, Judge, I'm always tried to be good American.
You're all good Americans. Wait, I'll give you a chance to prove it. Let's hear you all sing the Star-Spangled Banner. All right, come on.
Oh, say, can you see
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed in the twilight's last gleaming,
whose broad stripes and
bright stars through the
perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, bombs was bursting in the air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You. What's your name?
Luigi Basco.
Don't be frightened. The case against you is dismissed. You're the only person I've ever heard sing the Star-Spangled Banner through from beginning to end.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Basco, if you've taken the time to memorize our national anthem, you must be a good citizen.
I'm another second stanza, too.
That makes him 2 good citizens.
But, Judge, you can't let him go. I'm going to hire him a lawyer.
Who are you?
He's Pasquale, the fellow that gave Luigi the fireworks.
Yes, that's not true.
Well, I've got nothing against you for that. In fact, I'd like to get some fireworks myself.
You would?
Why, certainly. But I don't know where to get them. You'd be a friend of mine if you'd tell me.
Well, in that case, Judge, I'm happy to be of service to you. Pasquale's Spaghetti Palace at 23 North Holstead Street.
That's all I want to know. I thought you were the guilty party. 2 days in jail.
Hey, wait, Judge, wait! Luigi, where you going to my son?
How am I going to get to you a lawyer? Happy to see you coppers, Papa. So, Mamma Mia, after I'm going to get out of court, I'm going to join a parade, and I'm going to have the most wonderful time of my life. At the end of a parade, there was a big sign which shows a picture of a Declaration of Independence, which was signed by great Americans. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Mamma mia, isn't it a funny thing? These great men realized this almost 200 years ago. And some people still don't understand it. Well, good night, Mamma mia. I'm like to wish you a happy July 4th, but by the time you're going to get this letter, it's going to be 2 weeks later. So I'm wishing you happy July the 18th. Your loving son, Luigi Basco, the little immigrant.
Folks, the makers of Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of Life with Luigi, and they'd like to remind you that refreshing Wrigley Spearmint is an ideal treat for your whole family to enjoy. You can give it to youngsters between meals without worrying about spoiling their appetites. And you can enjoy it every day yourself because it's never rich or heavy. So for a delicious taste treat and a healthful chewing treat all combined into one, get some Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. It costs very little, and it tastes mighty good. The makers of Wrigley Spearmint Gum invite you to listen next week at the same time when Luigi Basco writes another letter to his Mama Basco in Italy. Life with Luigi was transcribed and is produced and directed by Cy Howard. Mac Benoff writes the script with Lou Derman. J. Carrol Naish is starred as Luigi Basco with Alan Reedus Pasquale, Hans Conrieder Schultz, Jody Gilbert as Rosa, Mary Shipp as Miss Spaulding, Joe Forte as Horowitz, and Ken Peters as Olson. Music is under the direction of Lud Gluskin. Friends, the Wrigley Company invites you to listen to their other program, The Gene Autry Show, every Saturday night over most of these same CBS stations. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
From Tuesday, 4th of July, 1950, Life with Luigi here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll hear from Penny Singleton and their Sane Fourth, but the news comes first from that date 74 years ago, and that, of course, will be next.
No one knows when disaster might strike. It could come in the form of hurricane, flood, blizzard, or fire, or by enemy attack. So it's wise to be prepared for any emergency. It's wise to take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course. At least one member of each family should know how to take care of an injured person. Remember, in time of disaster, doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel will be difficult, if not impossible, to find. So take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course now.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we take a look back at our feature day today, Tuesday, July 4th, 1950. Here's what was making news 74 years ago today. American troops went into action against North Korean forces yesterday for the first time, according to General Douglas MacArthur's headquarters. A spokesman said a detailed announcement would be issued shortly on this first combat for American infantry since the end of World War II. The officer said the Americans last night reached the area of Suwon, 23 miles south of conquered Seoul. Russia today charged the U.S. with direct acts of aggression in Korea. The charge made by Deputy Soviet Foreign Minister Andrei Gromyko in a statement broadcast by the Moscow radio. Gromyko declared that the U.S., by ordering its military and naval forces to support South Korea, had embarked on the road to open interference in the internal affairs of Korea. In Washington, press officer Lincoln White said the State Department would have no immediate comment on Gromyko's statement. 21 Republican congressmen strongly endorsed a move to give their party a liberal facelifting in an effort to wrest controls of the national government for the Democrats. Indirectly challenging the GOP National Committee, they praised a declaration of principles adopted by an offshoot rank-and-file party meeting at Philadelphia last week as a promising path back to political dominance. Military personnel and civilians reported seeing an unidentified object with a tail like a shooting star speeding over Alaskan skies yesterday. Lieutenant General Nathan Twining, chief of the Alaskan Command, said he doubted the object was a guided missile. Persons first reported seeing the object said it resembled a guided missile. Screen star Betty Davis filed for suit for divorce in Juarez, Mexico, just across the border from El Paso. Manuel Ruiz, her L.A. attorney, said her divorce petition was filed in Juarez civil court by his associate and may become final today. Miss Davis charges incompatibility. Ruiz said Miss Davis and her husband, William Grant Sherry, already have signed a property settlement, and her trip to Juarez is to ratify her signature on the petition. The actress still isn't commenting on reports that she'll wed Gary Merrill, whose wife has filed for divorce in California. In Washington, Senator Fulbright charged yesterday the Reconstruction Finance Corporation has knowingly invested $975,000 of taxpayer money in a gambling casino at Reno, Nevada. What's more, he said the taxpayers may have to shell out some more cash to protect their investment if a competing betting parlor cuts deeply into the patronage. The rival places are operated by brothers. The boss gambler at gambling house mentioned by the senator is Lou Wertheimer, a former big-time operator in Michigan. His place is called the Skyroom Casino and is located in the Mapes Hotel, to which the RFC loan actually was made. His brother, Mert Wertheimer, moving in nearby with a gaudy layout at the Riverside Hotel. Let her rip. 3 little words which made history in World War II provided the chief campfire conversation yesterday at the Boy Scouts' Second National Jamboree at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. General Eisenhower spoke those words in starting the Channel invasion of Nazi-held Europe June 6, 1944. The former Allied Supreme Commander will repeat that order tonight to touch off a fireworks display expected to bring oohs and ahs to the lips of the 47,000 campers gathered at the Jamboree Arena. At least 476 persons killed in accidents up to last night in the 4-day 4th of July holiday, and there still is a day to go. The rate was 1 accidental death every 10 minutes. Well, those things in the sky still being seen, but with a new twist. In Raleigh, North Carolina, Sunday night, an architectural engineer, Louis Polier, said he saw 9 spinning discs flying in a ragged formation of 3s. He said they were noiseless and each glowed brightly, but did not appear to be planes with windows, as some of the objects had been described. Polier couldn't estimate their altitude and speed. But out in Montana, it was a flying banana that was reported. Personnel of the Civil Aeronautics Authority, the Air Force, and commercial airlines all described the speeding object as a long yellow object or orange-yellow object shaped like a banana, cigar, or zeppelin. The thing apparently was extremely speedy. It was sighted twice in a few seconds at points 163 miles apart. And Deputy Sheriff Laverne Lauper of Joliet, Illinois, asked Des Moines police to help him find the person who stole his badge. Lauper said the badge, bolted to the license plate of his private car, stolen while he left the vehicle in a downtown Des Moines parking lot. The luckless officer said the badge was gold and silver plated. Those some of the day's news stories from the newspapers of Tuesday, July 4th, 1950. On your radio next, The Penny Singleton Show.
When buying your emergency food and water supply, choose foods that provide a well-balanced diet. For instance, canned soups, fruits, vegetables, fruit juices, packaged cereals, and dried foods are excellent for storing. Raisins and chocolate are good energy-building foods and take up little storage space. Avoid storing salty foods because they will only add to the problem of drinking water. Remember, in case of attack, your emergency food and water supply may have to last your family 2 weeks.
And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we wrap up our look at Tuesday, July 4th, 1950, by going to an episode of The Penny Singleton Show as it aired on NBC at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, or just ahead of presenting Charles Boyer. This episode, as I said, from 74 years ago, A Safe and Sane Fourth, with a wonderful ensemble cast.
The Penny Singleton Show.
Hello, happy you're here.
On stage tonight from Hollywood, The Penny Singleton Show. Penny in our story is Mrs. Penny Williamson.
a war widow and the mother of 2 girls, 13-year-old DG and 8-year-old Sue. We go back to yesterday evening to start our story. Penny is in the kitchen helping Margaret prepare dinner.
Here's some milk for the mashed potatoes. Need some help?
No, I always mash potatoes this way.
Gigi, Sue, and I aren't going to do anything tomorrow. We're having a safe and sane 4th.
Oh, how'd you ever talk 'em out of fireworks?
I have a new system for arriving at major family decisions. I'm the president, and Gigi and Sue make up the Senate and the House.
Yeah. I just wish they'd make up their beds. I can take care of the house.
Anyway, as president, I proposed the bill for no fireworks, and Congress passed it. We also voted you the day off tomorrow.
Well, thanks, Prez. You and Congress will always have my block of votes.
Thank you.
Well, I guess everything's about ready. Just need the powdered sugar for the shortcake.
I sent Sue over to Mrs. Duncan's to borrow a cupful. That's Sue now, at long last.
Now, I'll call Gigi and tell her dinner's ready.
Hurry up, Sue. Here's the sugar, Mother. Thank you. Sue, what took you so long at Mrs. Duncan's?
The usual thing. She grilled me.
And what did she want to know this time?
She asked me who I'd like for a stepfather, Judge Grundle or Mr. Wiggins.
Either way you answered, I'm in trouble. Whom did you say you wanted?
Joel McCrae.
Sue, darling, why didn't you just take the sugar, thank her, and then run for your life?
I will the next time, Madam President.
Mother, you look depressed all during dinner. What's the matter?
Oh, I've been thinking about Mrs. Duncan, DG.
May I have another piece of strawberry shortcake, please?
Darling, you had a big piece. Where do you put it?
Same old place.
Well, if you think there's room, just a tiny slice. DG.
Yes, Mother?
Does Mrs. Duncan ask you questions, too?
Well, sometimes. Yesterday she was leaning over her back fence.
She's always leaning over that fence.
And she started a conversation about Judge Grundle and Mr. Wiggins. She asked which one I'd like for a stepfather.
And whom did you choose?
Well, I said John Wayne.
I'd rather have Joel McCrae.
There isn't a man living braver than John Wayne. Anyway, Mother, that's the type I told Mrs. Duncan I'd like you to marry.
Well, I'm glad you didn't express an opinion about the judge or Mr. Wiggins. She'd have made a mountain out of that.
Oh, and Mrs. Duncan did want to know if you'd had a big party lately.
What?
Well, she saw an empty wine bottle in the barrel we throw cans and bottles in.
Well, I hope you told her it was the cooking sherry that Margaret sometimes uses.
Well, I didn't get a chance because the cans made too much noise.
The cans?
Well, she was rooting around to see what we've been eating lately. She thinks you're terribly extravagant.
Honestly.
More tea, Miss Williamson?
No, thanks. Margaret, I just heard that Mrs. Duncan inspects the barrel we throw cans in.
She does? Why don't we booby trap it? Well, I'll go, Mother.
Thank you. I think the only thing for me to do, Margaret, is to have a straightforward talk with Mrs. Duncan.
Well, it might work if you can get a word in edgewise, like a knife.
Good evening, Judge Grundle.
Evening, DG.
We're in the dining room, Judge. Come on in.
Oh, hello, Penny. Sue. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Judge.
Hello.
Like some of my strawberry shortcake, Judge?
Thank you, but I don't think I'd better.
Why, Judge, you love Margaret's shortcake.
No. You see, the other day it was brought to my attention that I'm developing what is often referred to as a corpulent midriff.
You mean a pot?
Well, not exactly.
Susan, you're being fresh.
Mother, it's not Sue's fault. The judge started it.
DG's right, Judge. You did lead with your solar plexus.
Oh.
Margaret, no shortcake for his honor. And the girls will help you clear the table in a few minutes.
Oh, thanks.
I dropped by, Penny, to ask you something. I wanted to know if you... Penny?
What?
Anything wrong?
Oh, just Ida Duncan.
Oh. Well, I was wondering if you had any plans for the 4th tomorrow.
Yes, we do. We're not going driving on the highways, we're not going to set fire to the house, and we're not going to get ourselves burned or hurt. We agreed, didn't we, Congress?
Uh-huh.
Sue filibustered a while in favor of a couple of little firecrackers, but we won her over on a compromise.
A compromise?
I'm going to be allowed to eat more watermelon than I should.
Well, I think the idea of a safe and sane 4th is very good since you're a household of women, but if you had a man here to manage things, I think you could celebrate a little bit without danger.
Judge, we had our meeting and we voted.
Madam President?
Yes, Sue.
I think we ought to count the votes again.
Now, Sue, you can't.
We wouldn't mind if Judge Grundle did everything. Sue and I just watch, Mother.
DG, you voted in favor of a safe and sane Fourth.
Well, we'll still be safe and sane, Mother. And the judge does have his heart set on it. Haven't you, Judge?
Yes.
Judge, whenever I want Mother to change her mind, I hug and kiss her.
Penny, this is what I've wanted to do for years.
Now, stay right where you are, Judge. It wouldn't be safe, and you wouldn't be sane to try it.
Oh, Penny, now, really.
Answer the door, Sue.
Okay. It must be Mr. Wiggins. I can see his car out front.
Wiggins? Why is he always coming in at the wrong time?
After all, as my partner in the Williamson and Wiggins Real Estate Agency, he may want to talk over some propositions.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, Judge.
Come on in, Mr. Wiggins. We're in the dining room.
Hello, Sue. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Wiggins.
Hello, Penny. DG, I just came over. Oh, Judge, you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Now, Judge, Mr. Wiggins, you two start all over again and try being friendly. Go ahead.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Wiggins.
Oh, now, really?
Well, what do you want me to do, kiss him?
I give up.
Oh, good. Well, Judge, if you're leaving, just assume I've taken Penny's advice and kissed you goodbye.
I am not leaving. I came over here to take DG and Sue downtown to buy some fireworks for tomorrow.
Are we back on that subject again?
But that's what I came over to do, Judge.
Gee, Mr. Wiggins, looks like you read the judge's mind.
Yes, and it was about as dull as reading the telephone book.
Mother, if Mr. Wiggins wants to get fireworks too, you're just outnumbered.
Somehow or other, I never can win. I have a discussion with my daughters. They agree to give up fireworks.
Well, honestly, Mother, we do. We just want to watch the judge and Mr. Wiggins play with them.
I think I have that problem all settled. I'm about to relax when another problem pops up. And believe me, the problem next door is a beaut. And then two men walk into my house and discombobulate everything.
Yeah, well, what's the matter next door?
It's Ida Duncan's gossip.
Oh, Penny, Ida's gossip doesn't hurt anyone. You take it much too seriously.
Oh, she's constantly looking over my shoulder.
Oh, it's not as bad as that.
Isn't as bad as... All right, I'll prove something to you. Ida Duncan is watching us right this minute.
Oh, no.
And I can prove it. Sue, dear, go pull down the shades.
Okay.
I don't get it.
I can prove Ida is watching because as soon as both the shades are down, the other one too, Sue, Ida will be over here in 10 seconds. She'll have to know what's going on.
Start counting, Mother.
1, 2, 3, 4,
I don't believe
5, 6, 7,
You mean
8, 9, 10. Come right in, Ida.
Oh, hello, Penny, my dear. Oh, I didn't know you had company.
Hello, Ida.
Oh, hello. Why is everybody staring at me?
She's not even out of breath. Jet propelled.
You see, gentlemen?
Oh, well, I don't understand. I just came over to borrow a few pieces of
gossip?
Yes. Oh, no, Penny, I don't know what you mean.
Judge, Mr. Wiggins, would you excuse us, please?
Oh, yes.
Ida, let's go into the living room. I'd like to have a little talk with you.
Oh, my dear, is it something you want to keep a secret?
What I'm going to tell you, Ida, you may tell to the world.
But, Penny, how can you say these things to me, your dearest friend?
I'm only saying what's true.
But you're wrong. You're wrong. I never talk about you.
Maybe you don't know you gossip. The other day, the butcher asked me how my diet was coming along. I'm not on any diet, but he told me you said I was.
Diet?
Yes. Where'd you get such an idea? This isn't important, Ida, but I'm using it as an example.
Oh. When you gave away some of your clothes to the Salvation Army last week, they stopped at my house next, and I noticed that green dress of yours, which seemed perfectly good, so I assumed...
But why tell the butcher?
Well, we were discussing the fact that you bought rather expensive cuts of meat.
Does he tell everyone what I buy?
Oh, no. You see, his account book happened to be open on the table, and I just happened to notice what your bill was last month. And Well, buying so much meat fitted in with the diet, so I put 2 and 2 together.
So that's how Charmaine at the beauty parlor knew what my butcher bill was last month.
She did not hear that from me. I'm positive she heard it from Bernice Harrington.
Why, Bernice?
Because she's the one I told about your bill.
Oh, Ida.
Oh, I guess I just have a naturally inquiring mind, I guess.
Ida, I'm not objecting to your mind. It's your tongue. This time, when you put 2 and 2 together, it didn't hurt anyone. But someday, Ida...
Oh, Penny, I never realized that I talk so much.
But do you now?
Oh, of course. And I'm going to watch myself like a hawk. Never let it be said that Ida Duncan knowingly would do anything to hurt.
Well, I'm sure you don't do these things knowingly, Ida. You've got to watch,
Now, dear,
darling.
I've got to run now, but believe me, I appreciate everything you've told me. It takes a friend to tell the truth to another friend.
Ida, you've got to watch.
Now, dear, I'll watch myself like a hawk. Now, good night, dear.
Good night.
Well, Ida leave?
Yes.
Well, did you tell her?
Penny, if Ida's left, could we,
I told her, but...
Well, didn't she understand what you were trying to tell her?
Yes, but she got it too fast.
Well, if she got it, that's enough. Now, what about the fireworks for tomorrow?
Oh, dear.
Please, Penny.
Yes, Penny, please, huh?
All right, but we won't buy them until tomorrow.
Well, why wait until tomorrow?
Because maybe they'll be sold out of everything by then.
We'll be back to the Penny Singleton Show in a moment.
This land is your land. This land is my land. This land was made for you and me.
It's a nice place to visit, and 18,602,000 people can't be wrong. They think it's a nice place to live, too. Some live up north in the shadow of Mount Tamalpais, where the fog rolls in like ghostly tumbleweed to envelop the Golden Gate Bridge. Some live down south in the shadows of the movie giants, where the smog rolls in to envelop everything. All of them live in California, a magic state. But this magic isn't merely the result of the magic lantern. It was present long before the first director shouted action. Even before John Marshall whispered gold, California's magic lies largely in its contrasts. Here, entire fields blow yellow with poppies or lie barren in waste. Here, the temperature may rise to 134 degrees or sink to 45 below. Here we find the highest point in the United States outside of Alaska, Mount Whitney, and the lowest, Death Valley. Here is the serenity of the missions and the near madness of the freeways. California's many facets give its residents an attitude described by O. Henry. Californians are a race of people. They are not merely inhabitants of a state.
And now for Act Two of the Penny Singleton Show. It's the 4th of July now, and we find Penny and her family with Judge Grundle and Mr. Wiggins in downtown Middleton. They are entering a store that sells fireworks.
Oh, dear, they've still got a lot of stuff left.
Best fireworks in town here.
Well, we just want some little firecrackers if they have them, and sparklers.
Boy, we're lucky they're not sold out. It's so late in the day. Hello. Oh. May I help you?
Yes, we want to buy some fireworks that won't do anything.
What do you mean, madam, that won't do anything?
Well, I don't know how I can put it any other way. We want fireworks that won't do anything.
Madam, if one goes to the trouble to strike a match, then light a fuse, one certainly wants something to happen, doesn't one?
Yes, but not very much.
Oh, now, Penny, you certainly want to get a couple of things that are fun.
We really don't care, Judge.
I'd like some sparklers.
Well, otherwise, Penny, we might just as well light a candle and sit there and watch it burn.
Let me show you some wonderful new things that are out this year. They're absolutely spectacular.
Judge, Mr. Wiggins, let's get the little firecrackers and sparklers and get out of here.
Now, here's something novel.
Oh, look what he's got.
Oh, this is a real Jim Dandy.
It's enormous. What is it?
It's called the Magnetic Mind Bomb. Go within 3 feet of it with a lighted cigarette and it goes off.
Say now, hot dog.
It's a killer, huh?
You can say that again. I'm sorry, but...
Oh, here's something else. It's sensational.
Don't they have any sparklers, Mother?
Now, this foot-long firecracker is called the Atomic Firecracker. It's our own little joke, but we recommend that the purchasers of this little baby have concrete bunkers built in their yard.
Now, really.
Boy, oh boy, if they'd had those when I was a kid.
When you were a kid, the Chinese hadn't invented gunpowder yet.
Judge, Mr. Wiggins, please tell them
Oh,
that.
please, madam. Let me show you the piece de resistance.
Look, you, I'm going to resist everything. All we want...
Look at this, madam. The most sensational fireworks ever invented. I'm told the plans for it were stolen directly from the Russians.
Jeepers, look at that, John. Holy mackerel, I've never seen anything like that.
Me either. What's it called?
This is the Moscow Mule Blockbuster.
Holy torpedo, that does it. Come on, girls. We'll get our little firecrackers and sparklers somewhere else. This place frightens me. Home at last. Imagine going to 3 places before we could buy little firecrackers and sparklers.
Whew, it's warm.
Mother, maybe it'd be nice to have supper on the side porch, sort of picnic style.
May I help in the kitchen?
There's not much to do. We're going to have cold fried chicken.
And watermelon.
I'll help you with the salad, Mother.
I think I'll go out and get the sparklers set up in the lawn by the porch. Once it starts to get dark.
Oh, Mr. Wiggins, you could help if you'd take the dining room chairs out on the porch.
Okay.
Well, this is turning out to be a very pleasant 4th of July after all.
Now, a line of sparklers here for his nose.
There's the table all set up, Penny.
Then you're through, Mr. Wiggins. Dinner will be ready in about 30 minutes.
Everything set up, Judge?
Yep. Did a picture of George Washington with the sparklers.
Washington? He's got 3 eyes there.
That one is his nose.
Well, then why is it looking at me?
Look, Wiggins, if you think you can do any better, you can
Hello
do...
there. Happy 4th of July.
Hello, Ida. Hello.
Oh, how cute, Judge. You've made a Christmas tree with the sparklers.
Christmas tree, that's very good.
That's enough.
Well, I'm going to watch your fireworks, too. Penny just called and asked me to join you. Oh, there's a wonderful woman.
Ida, that's the most accurate thing you've ever said.
Yes, we know her pretty well, too, Ida.
Oh, but not like I do. Appearances can be very deceptive if it takes a woman to understand another woman. I also know Penny through her children, too, you see. And the children always reflect the mother.
Like how?
Well, for example, just yesterday, Sue blurted out she'd like to have Joel McCrae for a father.
Is he in town?
Oh, you don't understand. It's what Joel McCrae represents to Sue, and therefore to Penny. McCrae is the Texas Ranger. Guns, noise, adventure, daring.
Well, I can be daring at times.
Oh, Judge, I'm afraid you're the sparkler type. There's DG, too. She'd like John Wayne for a father.
Yeah. Another shoot-'em-up, bang-bang type.
Well, knowing you two, it's so easy to understand why Penny never remarried. She's just never found another daring type like her husband, Commander Williamson.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure of that.
Well, I better go in and see if I can help her in the kitchen. You, Penny.
Come on in, Ida.
Joel McCrae.
John Wayne.
If Penny's appearance is deceptive, other people's appearances might be deceptive, too.
You mean, like us?
Yeah. The sparkler type. How do they know I'm not... How soon did you say Penny would have dinner ready?
Oh, in about 30 daring type. Shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Judge, you thinking what I'm thinking?
I am if you're thinking we could get to that first fireworks store and still be back in time.
Oh, sure we could. She wants shoot 'em up types. She's got 'em. Come on. Let's saddle up, McCrae.
Okay, Wayne.
Oh, the judge and Mr. Wiggins are certainly having fun.
Do you think the judge was really a Texas Ranger once, Mother? Like he said at dinner?
Oh, I'm sure he was making it up. Just like Mr. Wiggins made up that pearl hunting expedition in the Pacific.
Funny. Somebody else I heard about had a ship called the Red Witch.
This has been wonderful. Everything about used up, Judge, Mr. Wiggins?
Show's just beginning, folks.
Beginning?
Ladies and gentlemen, next comes the major attraction of the evening.
What he means is, here's where we separate the men from the boys.
I have a funny feeling they aren't talking about sparklers.
Here we go!
Mother, look, Mr. Wiggins is opening packages and packages of more fireworks.
What in the world? Now listen here, Judge, Mr. Wiggins. You just
Stand back, everyone. We're shooting them up tonight.
Yeah.
Look it!
Oh, Judge, Mr. Wiggins, watch out! Be careful! Stop!
Watch me, Penny, watch me. I'm holding the animal down.
Oh, stop it! Stop it, you hear me? Stop showing off! What's the judge?
Here's some more butter, Mother.
Thank you, DG. Ida, put some of it on Mr. Wiggins' hand.
All right. Here, Mr. Wiggins.
And now for you, Judge. Where else does it hurt?
Well, here and here and here.
I see. I'll just rub a little butter. Hold still. There.
Well, that's better. It's
Oh, it's just a little blister, Judge.
Oh, be careful, Ida. You're not buttering a piece of toast.
Mother, I'd still like to know. What happened?
Yes, boys. Exactly what got into you? Did you have this little stunt planned all the time you were cooperating with me on having a safe and sane Fourth?
No,
we didn't, Penny.
Then what made you change?
Well, John Wayne here decided to...
Now, just wait a minute, Wiggins. Joel McCrae was mixed up in this, too.
John Wayne? Joel McCrae? Well, those two are connected with a private family joke among D.G. Sue and me. But how did you two?
Oh, my, it's late. Penny, dear, I really think I should be running along now.
I want an explanation, gentlemen. D.G. Sue, did you talk to the judge or Mr. Wiggins about John Wayne?
No, Mother.
Nope. And I certainly never mentioned Joel McCrae or Ida.
Yes.
You were the only other person who... And you put two and two together again. Ida Duncan.
We were trying to be the daring type.
Yeah. Bang, bang.
Penny, I didn't say a thing that could cause any damage.
You didn't? Look at those two. Have you ever seen anything more damaged than they are?
Well, I simply said...
I'm so disappointed. And after you promised last night.
Mother, what's happening?
What?
Who is it?
Who owns the house next door?
Why, it's mine, Ida Duncan. Why?
Fireworks set your fence on fire. Better hurry.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, say, we'd better help, Wiggins.
Yes,
yeah.
Oh, no, you're doing? Look through the window, Mother. Half of
Mrs. Duncan's back fence is already gone.
Oh, dear, that's too bad, but wait a minute. This may teach Ida a lesson. Now she won't have a back fence to gossip over.
The judge and Mr. Wiggins are just standing there arguing over how to put the fire out. Do something, Mother, do something.
Holy torpedo, there's only enough butter left for breakfast. DG, go turn on the lawn sprinklers before John Wayne and Joel McRae hurt themselves again.
This land is your land. This land is my land. This land was made for you and me.
Everybody knows which company produces most of the world's tomato soup, but few know where the tomatoes come from. Not too many are aware of the vast tomato fields of New Jersey. Canning tomatoes isn't New Jersey's only claim to fame, however. The Miss America Beauty Pageant is held annually in Atlantic City, which also has delicious saltwater taffy and an amusement park with no roller coaster. Better than a roller coaster ride, though, or at least quieter, is a ferry ride across the Delaware from Cape May, about 45 miles from the boardwalk by way of Stone Harbor, with its nesting egrets and herons. Unfortunately, the casual observer seldom sees the richness of growing things or the beauty of the birds. He more often notices the swampy meadows, the towns and cities huddled along the railroad, the sign, "Trenton makes, the world takes." It is usually the native New Jerseyite who delights in beaches such as Wildwood, the rolling farms of Monmouth County, the dairy country and gentle mountains of western New Jersey. One native thought that he would never see a poem lovely as a tree. Could be he was referring to the proud red oak, symbolic of the Garden State.
The Penny Singleton Show featured Gail Gordon, Jim Backus, Bea Benaderet, Sarah Selby, Mary Lee Robb, Sheila James, and Paul Frees. The music was composed and conducted by Von Dexter. The Penny Singleton Show, written and produced by Robert Soderberg and directed by Max Hutto, stars Penny Singleton.
Good night. Keep well.
Armed Forces recording of the Penny Singleton Show as it was broadcast 74 years ago today, Tuesday, July 4th, 1950, wrapping up our look at July 4th, 1950. Coming up next, tomorrow. Yes, let us mention tomorrow, because we'll have, even though it's mostly comedy, we'll have a very serious episode of Father Knows Best as they talk about the meaning of freedoms. Also, an episode of Fibber McGee and Molly, Dean and Jerry, The Life of Riley and Claudia. That's all coming up tomorrow on our Classic Radio Theater Friday edition. Right now, though, an episode of Anthology is next.
Radio has always been a source of quick, accurate information during a disaster. When you hear the alert signal, tune to these Conelrad frequencies, 640 and 1240 on your regular radio. During a national emergency, all power lines may be temporarily cut off. To make sure you receive the necessary survival information, keep a battery-operated radio in your family shelter. For accurate information and instructions during enemy attack, it's 640 and 1240 on your standard radio.
Don't forget CivilDefenseMuseum.org for a lot of the information you hear them talk about during those messages. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of the program Anthology. This episode originally broadcast 70 years ago, July 4th, 1950, and it is their 4th of July special.
They must not go alone into that burning building which today is all of Europe. Say that you go with them, spirit and heart and mind. Although the body, grown too old to fight a young man's war, or wounded too deeply under the healed and whitened scars of earlier battles, must remain behind. You, too, may not be with them, save in spirit. You, so greatly needed here in the very van in front.
You are listening to Ronald Coleman reading Edna St. Vincent Milley's poem for an Invading Army, a page from this afternoon's July 4th edition of Anthology. This is Gene Hamilton. Every Sunday afternoon at 3, WNBC, in conjunction with the Poetry Center of the YW and YMHA, 92nd Street and Lexington Avenue in Manhattan, brings you Anthology, a selection of readings from poets past and present, and music to accompany their poetry. Now that I think of it, I probably should have said this is Hamilton at the opening of today's program. After all, I am standing in for Fleetwood, or rather Captain Fleetwood, who for the next 2 weeks is fulfilling his annual summer stand with the United States Army in Boston. As our part of WNBC's special 4th of July programs, we've chosen to pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces, who down through the pages of history have made possible this Independence Day. We begin with a salute to the Leathernecks, the Fighting Marines. The Corps was officially formed on July 17th, 1786. Since then, it has played a vital role in America's task of preserving our principles of democracy whenever, wherever they are challenged. On July 8th, 1941, the United States Marines, backed by the might of the Navy, occupied the country of Iceland in order to ensure its adequate protection. Herman Wouk's dramatic narrative, The Ballad of the Leatherneck Corps, not only tells of the Marines' heroism during those critical months preceding World War II, but graphically describes the history of this fine fighting force. The Ballad of the Leatherneck Corps is read for you on this RCA Victor recording by Tyrone Power.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles on the land as on the sea. Aspiration of the nation, we're the finest ever seen. And we glory in the title of United States
Oh, the wind blows cold in Iceland, but the wind's blown cold before. And it's not so hard in your own backyard to be set for peace or war. But to strike a blow at a distant foe is a job for the Leatherneck Corps. Where are you heading, Leatherneck? I'm off to Tripoli, son. It's someplace in Africa, don't know where, but an ornery pirate gang is there, and we're under orders to sweep it bare of each pirate's son of a gun. So off they went. It was 1805, and they piled in there with a mighty drive till hardly a pirate was left alive. And Jefferson said, "Well done." Oh, the shore is strange in Iceland, but the shore's been strange before. And the folks at home don't have to roam to be set for peace or war. But to challenge fear when it's far from here is a job for the Leatherneck Corps. Where are you heading, Leatherneck? I'm off to Sumatra, son. The natives there are a savage lot. Our ships have been sunk and our sailors shot. And that place which they tell me is burning hot will be hotter before we're done. So off they went, back in 32. And vengeance was had for each murdered crew, and over the isle, Old Glory flew. And Jackson said, "Well done." Oh, the sea is rough off Iceland, but the sea's been rough before. There are no rough seas where you sit at ease, all set for peace or war. But to face a fray half a world away is a job for the Leatherneck Corps. Where are you heading, Leatherneck? I'm off to China, son. A bunch called Boxers are raising hob. They're killing Christians, this crazy mob. So the U.S. Marines have got a job, and this one looks like fun. So in 1900, they sailed away and fought the Boxers in Old Cathay. Pagodas crashed, and they won the day. And McKinley wired, "Well done." Oh, the gale roars high in Iceland, but the gales roared high before. And it's cozy here by the hearthside cheer to be set for peace or war. But to make a stand in a far-off land is a job for the Leatherneck Corps. Where are you heading, Leatherneck? I'm off to Iceland, son. There's trouble brewing across the map, and it may or may not be our scrap, but we ain't gonna wait till it's in our lap. We'll head it off on the run. So off they march at a soldier's pace, and we pray that they have no fight to face. But they've gone there anyway, just in case. And America says, "Well done." Oh, the night may be long in Iceland, but the night's been long before. And it's not so hard in your own backyard to be set for peace or war. But to beat the worst by arriving first is a job for the Leatherneck Corps.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles on the land as on the sea. Aspiration of the nation, we're the finest ever seen, and we glory in the title of United States.
Too many poets, like authors and musicians, find fame only after death. In the case of John Gillespie McGee, Jr., death came with a sudden violence. He was killed in action on December 11th, 1941, at the age of 19. But he left for us a sonnet, 14 lines of poetry which will stand always as a fitting tribute to the airmen of the world. Pilot Officer McGee was born in Shanghai, the son of Reverend and Mrs. John McGee of Washington, American missionaries stationed for many years in China. After preparatory work at Rugby, he came to the United States in 1939, entered Yale University. A year later, he gave up his scholarship in order to enlist in the Royal Canadian Air Force. In September of 1940, he left for overseas to join an RCAF Spitfire squadron. The details of his death I've already told you. The details of the sonnet he wrote are equally simple. Returning one afternoon from a flight in the stratosphere, he tried to express the feelings he had had in a poem. These are the lines he wrote. A heritage now for the men of our United States Air Force, for men with wings across the world. This is High Flight. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, the long, delirious, burning blue. I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. Flight by John Gillespie McGee, Jr. Our thanks to the New York Herald Tribune for allowing us to include this poem on our 4th of July edition of Anthology. In just a moment, you will hear Edna St. Vincent Milley's poem and prayer for an invading army. First, information regarding next week's program when we return to our Shakespearean festival. Next Sunday, we turn to royalty, to the histories of kings in the plays of the Bard of Avon. 3 kings, 3 stars. You will hear Laurence Olivier in scenes from Henry V. Maurice Evans plays the role of Richard II for you once again. And as an interesting comparison in Shakespearean acting, new and old, we found the actual voice of John Barrymore in excerpts from Richard III. For instance, listen as the king plots murder.
Cousin of Buckingham, my gracious sovereign, give me thy hand. Thus high and by thy advice and thy assistance is Richard seated. But, shall we wear these honors for a day, or shall they last, and we rejoice in them? Young Edward lives. Think now what I would say? Say no, my loving lord. Why, Buckingham, I say I would be king. Why, so you are, my thrice-renowned liege. Am I king? 'Tis so, but Edward lives. True, noble prince. Oh, bitter consequence, that Edward should live, true noble prince. Cousin, thou wert not wont to be so dull. Shall I be plain? I wish the prince is dead. And I would have it suddenly performed. What sayest thou? Speak suddenly. Be brief. Your grace may do your pleasure. Tut, thou art all ice. Thy kindness freezeth. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die? Give me some breath, some little pause, my lord, before I positively speak herein. I will resolve your grace immediately. High-reaching Buckingham, grow circumspect. Boy. My lord? Knowest thou not any whom corrupting gold would tempt into a close exploit of death?
My lord, I know a discontented gentleman
whose humble means match not his haughty mind. What is his name? His name, my lord, is Tyrrell. I partly know the man. Go, call him hither. Yes, my lord. Catesby.
Lord?
Rumor is abroad that Anne, my wife, is sick and like to die. Look how thou dreamest. I say again, give out that Anne, my wife, is sick and like to die. Go.
John Barrymore in a scene from Richard III, a preview of our second program in the Shakespearean cycle on Anthology. Several months prior to D-Day, NBC commissioned the distinguished American poet Edna St. Vincent Milley to write a poem and prayer to be broadcast on that long-anticipated day in history. This afternoon, we would like you to hear a rebroadcast of that special program. We believe Miss Milley's stirring lines still hold an important message for the world. They certainly stand as a glowing memorial to the men of the United States Army, to the men of all branches of our armed forces who lived and died there on the beaches of France on June 6, 1944. Here then, for July 4th, 1954, Edna St. Vincent Milley's Poem and Prayer for an Invading Army, read by Ronald Coleman.
They must not go alone into that burning building which today is all of Europe. Say that you go with them, spirit and heart and mind. Although the body, grown too old to fight a young man's war, or wounded too deeply under the healed and whitened scars of earlier battles, must remain behind. You too may not be with them, save in spirit. You, so greatly needed here in the very van and front of duty, to fashion tools and engines, and to engineer their transports, build the ships and mine the coal, without which all their efforts would be worse than vain. You, men and women working in the workshops, working on the farms, makers of tools and of engines, fitters of wings to metal birds which have not left the nest, which yet must try their flight, sowers of seed in season, and planters of little plants at intervals, on acres newly plowed and disked and harrowed to feed a starving world. You workers in the shipyards, building ships which crowd each other down the way, you miners of coal in dark and dangerous corridors, who see the sun total eclipse each morning, disappearing, as you do, under the earth's rim, not to emerge into the daylight until the day is over and the lights dim. All you, without whose constant effort and whose skill, without whose loyal and unfailing aid our men would stand stranded upon a foreign and hostile shore, without so much as a stout stick to beat away death or pain. Bullets like angry hornets, buzzing round the ears and the bewildered brain, and from the sky again and yet again the downpour of heavy, evil, accurate, murderous rain. You who have stood behind them through this hour, move strong from behind them now. Let's still the weary bones encase the indefatigable will. But how can men draw near so fierce a conflagration? Even here, Across a grey and cold and foggy sea, its heat is felt. Why, touch your cheek. Is it not hot and tight and dry? And look what light climbs up the eastern sky and sinks and climbs again. Like to the bright aurora of the north, it floods and flashes, pulses, pales, then glows, lighting the entire east majestically, as if it were the sun that rose. I wish it were. Surely our fibre and sinew, the backbone and brain of us, are made of some less common stuff than clay. Surely the blood which warms the veins of heroes at the front, our brothers and our sons, runs also in our own. And are we not then capable, perhaps, of something more courageous than we yet have shown? Surely some talisman, some token of our lofty pride in them, our heavy gratitude, and so much love will find its way to them? Some messenger, the vicar and the angels of what we feel, will fly before them where they fly, before them and above, like patron goddesses in wars of old, cleaving with level, lovely brows the hard air before the eager prows, lighting their way with incandescent wings and winged heel. This is the hour. This is the appointed time. The sound of the clock falls awful on our ears, as the sound of the bells, their metal clang and chime, tolling for those about to die. For we know well they will not all come home to lie in summer on the beaches. And yet, weep not, you mothers of young men, their wives, their sweethearts, all who love them well. Fear not the tolling of the solemn bell. It does not prophesy, and it cannot foretell. It only can record. And it records today the passing of a most uncivil age, which had its elegance, but lived too well and far too long, and which on history's page will be found guilty of injustice and grave wrong. O thou Prince of Peace, this is a prayer for war. Yet not a war of man against his fellow man. Say rather, Lord, we do beseech thy guidance and thy help in exorcising from the mind of man, where she has made her nest, a hideous and most fertile beast. And this to bring about with all dispatch, for look, where even now she would lie down again to whelp. Lord God of hosts, thou Lord of hosts not only, not alone of battling armies, Lord and King, but of the childlike heart as well, which longs to put away, oh, not the childish, but the adult, circuitous and adroit, antique and violent thing called war, and sing the beauties of this late to come, but oh, so lovely spring. For see, where our young men go forth in mighty numbers to set free from torture and from every jeopardy things that are dear to thee. Keep in thy loving care, we pray, those of our fighting men whose happy fortune it may be to come back home again after the war is over, and all those who must perforce remain, the mourned, the valiant slain. This we beseech thee, Lord. And now, before we rise from kneeling, one thing more. Soften our hard and angry hearts. Make us ashamed of doing what we do, beneath thy very eyes, knowing it does displease thee. Make us more humble, Lord, for we are proud without sufficient reason. Let our necks be bowed more often to thy will. For well we know what deeds find favor in thy sight, and still we do not do them. O Lord, all through the night, all through the day, keep watch over our brave and dear, so far away. Make us more worthy of their valor. and thy love. Let them come home. Oh, let the battle, Lord, be brief, and let our boys come home. So cries the heart, sick for relief from its anxiety, and seeking to forestall a certain and a greater grief. So cries the heart aloud, but the thoughtful mind has something of its own to say. On that day, when they come home from very far away, and further than you think, for each of them has stood upon the very brink, or sat and waited in the anteroom of death, expecting every moment to be called by name. Now, look you to this matter well, that they upon returning shall not find, seated at their own tables, at the head perhaps of the long festive board, trinked out in prodigal array, the very monster which they sallied forth to conquer and to quell, and left behind for dead. Let us forget such words and all they mean as hatred, bitterness, rancor, greed, intolerance, bigotry. Let us renew our faith and pledge to man his right to be himself and free. Say that the victory is ours. Then say, and each must search his heart in true humility. Lord, Father, who are we that we should wield so great a weapon for the right and rehabilitation of thy creature, man? Lo, from all corners of the earth we ask, all great and noble to come forth, converge upon this errand, in this task, with generous and gigantic plans. Hold high this torch who will, lift up this sword who can.
Edna St. Vincent Milley's Poem and Prayer for an Invading Army, read by Ronald Coleman.
And with that magnificent poem, the conclusion of our recording of Anthology from 70 years ago, July 4th, 1950, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We move back to CBS in a moment for an episode of Columbia Presents Corwin from Wartime, Home for the 4th.
Power failure, doing without gas or electric service, is something we've all experienced at one time or another. But in time of disaster, due to natural causes or enemy attack, we might have to do without such service for a long time. With refrigerated foods, this can be serious. If power is out for more than 12 hours, eat or cook the most perishable items in your refrigerator before they spoil. If you can't cook them, throw them out. Persons who own freezers should consult their service books. Remember, when power fails, keep your refrigerators and freezers closed.
The poet laureate of radio, Norman Corwin, wrote some amazing works. In this episode of the program Columbia Presents Corwin, going back 80 years ago today to July 4th, 1944, Dane Clark stars in an episode entitled Home for the 4th.
What's that, operator? All right, wait a minute now. Here's the 20 cents. Hello, Pa? This is Eddie. I'm at camp. I say I'm at the camp. Yeah. I've been waiting in line 2 hours to make this call, Pa. Huh? I'm fine, Pa. How are you? And Ma okay? And Beanie? Ah, that's good. Look, Pa, listen. Here's why I'm calling. I'm going to be home over the 4th. Yeah. 2-day pass. No. By train. I'll get in around dinner time. Yeah. Look, Pa, a lot of guys are waiting to make calls, so I better hang up. Uh-huh. Okay, I see you Monday night. Bye.
Columbia presents Corwin. From Hollywood, Norman Corwin brings you the rising young Warner Brothers star, Dane Clark, in a new play for radio entitled Home for the Fourth. The musical score is composed and conducted by Bernard Herrmann. Dane Clark in Norman Corwin's Home for the Fourth.
Of course, I had to wait in line 2 hours for my ticket.
One way?
Oh, round trip.
1423.
And then when I got on the train, it was crowded.
Do you mind if I sit here?
No, not at all. Here, let me help you with that suitcase.
Thank you very much.
And at the second station, a lot more people got on, and they had to stand in the aisles. One of them was a pregnant woman, and nobody seemed to be offering her a seat, so I got up and gave it to her, and I stood in the vestibule. A corporal from Camp Wood was standing there, and we fell to talking. What camp you from? Manning. But you'll be glad to get home, huh? Oh, I'll say. I've been gone 8 months. You married? No, but I'll sure be glad to see my girl again. How about you?
I've been married 2 years.
Yeah?
Yeah, 2 years next August.
Well, I thought about getting married, but I don't know. Getting married is pretty serious.
You the only son in your family?
No, I got a brother, Jim, in the Air Force overseas, and a kid sister. Why?
Well, sometimes it makes a difference. Your brother in the invasion?
No, he's a meteorologist with the ground forces based in England.
Uh-huh. Is there a diner on this train?
Well, I don't think so.
I'm getting hungry.
Me too, but I'm going to wait till I get home. I'll be home just in time for dinner.
I think I could eat a small-sized horse.
What I didn't tell him, because he looked so doggone hungry, was that my mother makes the best southern fried chicken in the world. He went to look for some chow, and I just stood there, biding my time, listening to the wheels. Gets to be a kind of a music after a while. I got a hand in your mind. You haven't lost a touch.
Well, look at all the practice I've had. Been making chicken this way for 24 years.
It wasn't so good in the experimental stages, though. I can remember when we were first married.
Oh, now, George, you don't have to spoil it. The armed forces like my cooking. You can at least let me have the compliment to myself.
That's right, Ma. Stick up for your rights.
Subversive propaganda, son. The first thing you know, she'll begin to think woman's place isn't in the kitchen.
Besides, tomorrow is Independence Day.
What's the use of the 4th of July without fireworks?
Oh, Beanie, sit up in your chair and eat your chicken.
I'm not hungry.
Well, sit up anyway, on speculation.
You couldn't slouch like that in the wax, Beanie.
I'm too young for wax anyway.
Well, you're not too young to eat, dear. Come on now. Think of all the hungry people in Europe.
I told you, Ma, I'm not hungry, please.
Well, no wonder you're not hungry, please. Eating cookies all afternoon.
Ma, I made the cookies specially for Eddie, and I had to taste them to see if they were good. Didn't I, Kiwi, if I'm only human?
Well, let's open to some debate. I don't think humans sit that way at meals.
No.
Orangutans, maybe, but not humans.
What's
Sit up.
orangutan?
A sergeant.
Oh, Eddie.
Incidentally, Eddie, I met Bill Gargan today.
Oh, how is Bill?
Oh, he's fine. He's lieutenant. Got 10 days furlough before going overseas. Says he might drop in to dinner.
Good. I'd like to see him.
When are you going to see Rita?
Well, she doesn't get off work till 8, and then she's coming over.
Why don't you marry Rita, Eddie? I would if I were.
Ma, would you sit down? I'll bring in the coffee.
No, sir. You stay where you are. The idea. Home for a day and a half, and he wants to wait on the table.
I'll help you, Ma.
That's a good girl, Beanie.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Have a cigar, Eddie?
No, thanks. I'll smoke my pipe. How many of these things do you smoke a day?
Oh, about 7 or 8.
That's too many. Don't like to see you smoke so much.
Yes, Father.
Okay, son. See that you cut down. Good.
Well, how do you think things are going in the invasion, Ed?
Oh, I think they're going fine now. This new offensive that started in the west with the taking of Minsk and our secured beachhead in Cherbourg, I don't see how it can last past the
Great
summer.
work, Ed. Great work. They're certainly doing a grand job.
There's a sergeant in my company who's had some people come back from
George,
overseas.
did you hear from Mr. McCausland?
No, I'm expecting a wire from him tonight.
It's canceled, dear. You spill the cream, Beanie.
Well, why'd you fill it so full, Ma?
Say, Pa, what did Jim say in his letter?
Oh, it's a fine letter. Show it to you after dinner.
Gee, it's a swell letter. Jim sent home a picture of him standing with a British girl in uniform.
I'm glad your brother Jim isn't in the fighting in Normandy.
I'll bet he's not glad.
Well, he's doing his part. They need good meteorologists at the bases in England.
2 or 3?
Thousands of them.
No, I mean how many lumps of sugar?
One.
Say, take a look at the little finger, will you? Very fancy. Where did you learn to drink tea like that, Beanie?
The movies? Libby de Havilland drinks tea like that? The phone? Oh, that's probably your telegram.
No, I think it's Rita for me.
Well, maybe it's Olivia de Havilland for me.
No,
huh?
it's probably for me. It's probably for me. Wait a minute. Hello? Yeah, this is me. Hey, for me.
Oh.
Yeah. You know who's home?
Next door. Sally, do I know Sally?
This is good for at least half the night.
Half the... Beanie, please limit your call to 5 hours.
No, you used to be just as bad on the phone with Rita.
Yes, but Rita didn't live next door.
More coffee, Edward?
No, thanks, Mom.
You, Dad?
Yes, thanks.
All right.
Hey, get a load of that edifying phone conversation, will you?
It's all
Hey,
over.
listen.
She's a lot of phony bologna for cheese, and you can tell I said so, too. Well, she was Miss Kitty's pet all last year. She used to bring her apples. Yeah, and one day she brought her a cantaloupe. It turned out to be rotten. She always goes.
Incidentally. What do you think about my marrying Rita before I'm sent overseas?
Well, son, do you love her?
Well, sure I do. But you see, I've just been wondering whether, well, the war being what it is, uncertain, and wondering if I'm kidding myself into thinking that I ought to get married now instead of waiting and...
Well, if you have to think about it, then I don't ready to get married.
Oh, is that so? Well, you thought about it long enough before you married me.
You called 6 years long?
Edward, if you want to get married, then I say...
Oh, that's probably Rita at the door.
Well, maybe my telegram.
No, I'll go.
Hello, you.
Rita.
You're looking well, Edward.
So are you.
Ask me in, darling.
Oh, come here.
You're full of lipstick.
It's all right. Mark of honor.
Here's my handkerchief.
All off?
Yes. Let's go inside.
We went in the dining room and we chatted for a while. Ma made Rita have some dessert and coffee. Beanie was still on the telephone, of course, until Pa made her hang up because he was expecting a wire from somebody. And then the folks, you know how they are. They figured Rita and me hadn't seen each other for a while, so they sent Beanie to bed and then announced they hadn't been out in the air all day and they simply had to go for a walk. So Rita and I went in the living room and I turned on the radio.
Pleasure in bringing you the winner of the local high school Independence Day essay contest, Mr. Herbert Gates, Jr., reading his prize-winning paper entitled, What the 4th of July Means to Me. Mr. Gates.
Tomorrow is the 4th of July. It is our National Day of Independence and is celebrated wherever Americans are or whatever they are doing. July 4th, 1944, or July 4th, 1776. The American people have always celebrated this day, and that will give you some idea of how important it is.
Get something else.
What good American is not thrilled at the sight?
Is that better?
Yes.
I sure missed the radio at camp.
I don't get a chance to hear it much either with my job the way it is.
I suppose.
Did you by any chance hear the Lonesome Train a couple of months ago?
No? What's that?
A new song about Lincoln.
No, I didn't hear it.
It was pretty good. It's too bad you missed it.
Did you miss me?
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yes.
I think that you're more wonderful than I imagined.
Imagined?
Yes. You want to know something? I used to think about you. I used to imagine you every day. Every night. I'd take your picture out when I was alone. I'd look at it. I didn't pin it up on the wall because I almost didn't want to share it with anybody. I love you, Rita.
Do you really?
Of course I do.
Are you as mad to be with me as I am to see you?
Yes, Shiva.
And you still want to marry me?
Yes.
Then why don't we get married before you go overseas?
Well, it's like I said before.
What did you say before?
Well, now supposing I go away and I get shot up, so you've got an invalid husband on your hand. Just suppose I'm killed and you're a widow. All right, suppose I'm lost or something. I'm reported missing.
Ed, that's silly. You know I love you enough to face up to anything that might happen. Darling, is it that you're afraid to marry me? Is it that you're not sure you love me? Don't be afraid to tell me if that's how you feel.
No, that's silly. I do love you.
Only...
Well, it's only that I'm kind of hipped on the subject, I guess. I've just got the kind of a conscience that simply won't let me... Oh, no, don't look like that, darling.
I'm all right. Sweetheart, let's not talk about it, huh? Let's just be glad to be together. It's so long since I've seen you.
Yes. Yes, of course it is. We must have been sitting there on the sofa for about a half hour, and then we heard voices out on the porch. And we figured the folks must be back from their walk, so we went out and we joined them. They were talking with Bill Goggins, who had met them on their way up the street. Pa was deep in an argument with Bill.
I know what I'm talking about, Bill. I fought in the last one. It was the same thing then. They said it was the war to end war, and so on and so forth, but it wasn't anything of the kind. It's the same thing today, all over again.
Well, I disagree with you, Mr. Eakin. It's an entirely different war. In the first place...
What's going on here?
Well, hello, Eddie.
Well, how are you?
Fine, I'm glad.
Gosh, you know Rita, don't you?
Yes, of course. How are you, dear? What are you doing?
I'm working in a machine and tool factory now.
Oh, good
don't
for
let
you.
us
Interrupt this dogfight. Carry on, gentlemen.
Oh, well, we weren't arguing. It's just that Bill here seems to think you can change human nature.
No, I don't believe that's an issue at all, Mr. Eakin. If anything, people's instincts are against war. Was it human nature that got Ed and me into uniform?
No, it was draft board number 17.
No, it wasn't human nature. It was a very inhuman, unnatural thing.
Like what?
It was fascism, Ed.
That's right, Bill.
Why, sure. After all, peace and not war is so much a part of human nature that, well, most of us just refuse to believe that the fascists deliberately intended to make war. And we waited until it was almost too late.
I still think we're going to have another war after this one.
And so do I.
Oh, Eddie, you don't.
Sure I do.
That's defeatist talk, if you ask me.
Mr. Eakins, you mean you don't think anybody will have learned anything out of this war?
No, I think it's exactly the same kind of war as the last one.
Absolutely, I agree with my old man.
Well, your old lady doesn't agree with your old man. I think we've made a lot of progress.
Good for you.
Such as what?
Well, the Atlantic Charter and the Tehran
I'll
Conference.
bet you don't even know what they stand for.
How much do you want to bet,
Oh, never mind. When you talk that way, you probably know.
Well, what do they stand for?
The Tehran Agreement called for the Big Three to continue cooperating after the war. Well, I ought to know that one. I lectured to the East Side Women's Club about it.
It says that Britain, Russia, and we are planning for the day when all the people in the world can live free lives, free from tyranny and, well, if I remember the wording, according to each one's varying desires and his own conscience. Isn't that right, Mr. Deacon?
Correct.
Oh, that all sounds fine, but I tell you it's idealistic. It's visionary.
Well, what do you think?
Look, none of the boys, Bill, that I know in the Army go for that idealism stuff, at least not in my outfit.
Well, they do in my outfit.
Listen, Bill, I've talked with a lot of the boys, including some who've been overseas, and the one thing they want to know is when do they get home?
Sure, just as in the last war. Even our letters from Jim are full of it.
Oh, soldiers in every war have wanted to go home.
Certainly, if you want an example of human nature, that's one, to want to go home.
But there's a big difference in this war. Oh, you hear of men wanting to come home, sure, but you don't hear of any desertions on account of it as you did in other wars. The American soldier knows he's got to win before he gets home, or else his home won't be worth coming back to.
So what's that got to do with the Tehran conference?
What's that got to do with it?
Yeah.
Everything. What do you suppose our men are fighting for anyway?
Oh, ideals, I suppose.
Oh, chicken and every Hottentot pot. That's a fine ideal for a young American.
Look, we're fighting to get it over with, and that's all.
Look, I don't begin to understand your attitude about idealism. You and your father seem to think that it's a little embarrassing to be found dead or alive with an ideal. Sure, the Tehran agreement's visionary. But so was our Declaration of Independence. Did you ever stop to think of that? Supposing they sat around at Philadelphia 150 years ago making cracks about long hairs and visionaries.
But that's different. The Declaration of Independence involved one country in 1776, and the Tehran thing involved a bunch of countries another time.
Of you. We were practically 13 separate countries back in 1776. Where's your history?
Well, I know. I hear certain people speak about the ideology of this war as though it was something extra. Something you could throw away, dispense with, if the going gets tough. Well, I think it's a heck of a lot more important than C rations or K rations or sometimes even ammunition. It's the whole heart and soul of fighting. And I've talked to a lot of GIs, too, and in my experience, it's hardly ever the men who do the fighting who sneer at the reasons why they're fighting.
Yes, and the ones who sneer are mostly high-priced columnists who spend the rest of their time kicking about the income tax they have to pay.
Sure. The only time the war comes home to them is when they get bounced off a plane because they don't have a priority.
What papers do you read, Bill?
Yeah, the same papers you read, sir. And I don't have to read the editorials to form my opinions. Just the main headlines and the text of the speeches and the communiques. I've been doing that right along.
So have I, ever since Spain.
Well, with me ever since Manchuria.
Well, that's all very well, and I still say the men are fighting to get back to where we were before the stinking war. That's all they're fighting for, and I think that's enough to fight for. We're not mad at anybody.
Well, look, Ed, neither of us is on the sleeve to spend our time arguing. All I can say personally is that if I'm going to die in this war, I'd like it to be for an ideal. For something pretty awful special. And I think the promise of Tehran is that. I think the whole fact and the idea of the United Nations is something good and special.
Now, wait a minute, Bill. Let's get back to where we were talking about the Declaration of Independence. Now, in the first
We've
place...
never left it, Eddie. We've never left it. Tehran, the Charter, all these things, they're sort of the great-grandsons of stuff like the Declaration.
Certainly. If a man writes a fine document 150 years ago, he's a hero, but if he writes it today, he's a politician.
Believe me, when I leave my family this trip, it'll be for the duration, maybe for a good deal longer. And if I'm not coming back, at least I want my people to have an insurance policy on my life. And the best policy I know about so far is the one the Allies wrote there at Tehran.
Yeah, and there's a captain in my company who talks like you, too, but nobody pays any attention to him either.
Oh, Eddie, what a thing to say. I think you want to apologize to Bill.
Oh, that's fine. No. That's all right, Rita. Well, look, I've got to be getting along anyway, and that's as good a place as any to leave the discussion.
Oh, now, hold on, Bill.
No, don't you go, Bill. Please stay and have some tea with us.
No, really.
Come on, Bill, and stay. We really love you, only...
I know.
Even though we don't agree with you.
Sure, Bill, I will.
No, really. Look, I must go. I'm late now. I told Edna I'd drop around now, so... Well, good night, everybody, and I hope that before I go, we get a chance.
Oh, George, look. Here comes the boy with your telegram from McCausland.
Where?
Why, he's right there crossing the street.
It's about time he let me know. Nearly a whole day late with that thing.
George W. Eakins live here?
Yeah?
Telegram for you.
So I see.
I'm there.
Okay, here you are.
Thanks.
If it doesn't get me those reservations, I'm just going to...
Look, it's all right.
So what's he say?
Personal question. Well, what is it, Pa?
What's the matter, George?
Here, give it to me. The War Department regrets to inform you that your son, James Fish Eakins, is missing.
But he's a meteorologist. Well, how can he be missing? He's stationed in England.
That can't be right. There must be a mistake here. Maybe it's the wrong...
Jim, listen.
But it just says missing. Lots of guys who are missing later
I'm going inside. Excuse me, everybody. I'm going inside.
Here. Let me help you, Mother. There. I'm sorry, Eddie. Believe me, I'm sorry.
Ed,
Oh, Jim's all right. He's missing, that's all. Lots of guys who are missing later turn up. Don't they, Bill? Don't they turn up later?
Sure, Eddie. Lots of them.
Sure. Jim isn't dead, I know that. You can't kill a guy like Jim. He'll turn up.
Of course he will.
Sure.
Here. Have a cigarette?
Thanks. Rita?
Thanks.
I'm glad you're here with us right now, Bill. Can you stay for a little while?
Yes, do stay, Bill.
Of course. Bill,
Come in the house. Come on in. I'll make something to drink for you.
folks were feeling better when I left the house the next day. It was the saddest 4th of July we'd ever had, but the folks took it wonderfully well. After all, Jim is only missing. Many of the boys do show up after a while, especially flyers who come down to enemy territory. I guess Jim must have changed his job from meteorologist to join a bombing crew. And he never bothered to tell us. Or maybe he never was a meteorologist.
Darling, your train leaves in 5 minutes, and you'd better stand at the gate if you want to get a seat.
Just one more kiss, and make it last for 3 weeks. You'll come down to camp on the 30th now?
Yes. I'll bring the license, too. Don't worry.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Eakin.
I love you.
And I love you. It was a slow, crowded ride back to camp. I felt pretty blue. I had a smile once when a fellow on the train exploded a couple of paper bags in celebration of the 4th of July. He said it was ersatz fireworks on account of there was a war on. All the way back, I listened to the wheels clicking. And I kept thinking about Jim and Rita. And about what Bill Goggins said. I decided I sort of liked Bill. The more I thought about him, he's really a decent kind of a fellow with a good head on his shoulders. He's like Jim in a way. Yeah. Like Jim.
You have been listening to Home for the 4th, written, directed, and produced by Norman Corwin for CBS. as the 17th in his current series of broadcasts. Dane Clark, distinguished Warner Brothers star, appeared in the role of Ed Eakins. Wally Mayer was Lieutenant Bill Goggins. Betsy Kelly played Rita. Pa Eakins was played by Paul McVeigh. And Regina Wallace was heard as Ma. Joan Loring was Beanie, and the boy was Billy Roy. Bernard Herrmann composed and conducted the original musical score. Because of Columbia's coverage of the All-Star Major League Baseball game a week from tonight, Columbia Presents Corin will not be heard again until 2 weeks from tonight, on Tuesday, July 18th, at this same time. And on that night...
The Moat Farm Murder.
This is Norman Cohen. I'd like to take a moment to tell you something about the program we've planned for the 18th. Last year, when I suggested to Charles Lawton that he perform the trilogy of American poets, which you heard earlier this month, he made a suggestion of his own. He told me that in the court records of British criminal law, there was a remarkable confession by a bungling, small-time murderer named Dougal. He said he read it on a subway train in London and was so horror-struck and fascinated that he rode 3 stations past his stop. Well, we looked up the confession in an old British periodical, and I read it. It was the most terrifying study of a murderous conscience that I'd ever encountered, and I agreed that it ought to make an unusual broadcast. So Charles Lawton will be doing an encore to his trilogy with the Moat Farm Murder on this program 2 weeks from tonight. Bernard Herrmann will again compose and conduct an original score.
Remember, Columbia Presents Corin will not be heard a week from tonight, but will return on July the 18th. This is Dick Cutting speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
WBNS, Columbus.
80 years ago, July 4th, 1944, Home for the 4th. Up next on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Superman.
If you are planning a new building, the architect can make inexpensive changes in his design to shield against the dangers of radioactive fallout. This technique is called design slanting, which simply means designing for added fallout protection without adversely affecting the use, appearance, or cost of a building. To learn more about slanting, contact your local civil defense director.
And you can find information on that at civildefensemuseum.org. Coming up tomorrow, episodes of Father Knows Best and the Meanings of Freedom. Also, comedy with Fibber McGee and Molly, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, The Life of Riley starring William Bendix, and an episode of Claudia and the Babies here. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. And then we will start off your weekend on Saturday with Crime, episodes of Call the Police, also Freedom USA starring Tyrone Power, an episode of Suspense the Tip, William Gargana's Barry Craig Confidential Investigator. That's all coming up on Saturday. But right now, we have an episode of Superman. This episode goes back to 83 years ago, July 4th, 1941.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
The bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, then steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice.
And now to our story. When Nancy Harmon and young Jimmy Olsen seemingly vanished into thin air, Kent, as Superman, found them in a cabin deep in the woods, some miles from the Bartlett logging camp, of which Nancy's father, Fred Harmon, is boss. They appeared to be under the sleep-producing influence of a drug. Rushing them back to the camp, Kent had Bill Dawson, Harmon's right-hand man, send to Montville, the nearest town, for Father Malone. a Northwoods priest who, because of the lack of a physician, ministers to the body as well as the soul. It is midnight in the logging camp office. Nancy and Jimmy, although still under the influence of the sleeping potion, seem to be in no danger. Fred Harmon, exhausted by the ordeal, has gone to bed. Kent and Father Malone, a tall, broad-shouldered man with warm gray eyes and a ready smile, are seated before the fire.
Well, now, let's see. I've been up in this section of the woods close to 12 years, Mr. Kent.
That's a long time, Father Malone.
Oh, not so long. Time passes quickly when there are things to do. Yes, 12 years. My first parish was in St. Clair. That's 10 miles north of Montville.
Oh?
I had 7 worshippers, and 5 of them didn't understand a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of French. But we got along famously. The moment those Canucks discovered I could handle a rifle, we were friends.
Don't you ever want to go back to a big city?
No, I don't think I'd like it. People are so much more human up here.
Mm-hmm.
They learn to depend on themselves, and they learn to develop faith in themselves and in Providence.
Where did you learn medicine, Father?
Books, and a few lessons from Dr. Warren at Hart's Landing.
Oh.
Of course, I never tamper with anything that looks serious. Just odds and ends.
Well, you're quite sure Jimmy and Miss Harmon will be all right?
Positive. Pulse and respiration are normal. Your diagnosis, I think, was quite correct. Some sort of a sleeping potion. Now, tell me exactly what happened.
Well, apparently, Father, it's the White Plague legend again.
Hey?
Yes, it seems 2 loggers died very mysteriously a few days ago, and then a third came staggering in out of a blizzard last night and passed away almost in my arms. Then early today, a 4th man collapsed. Dawson said he'd been struck by a rattler.
Oh, no, that's nonsense. Snakes hibernate during the winter. Anything else happened?
Yes. Early this afternoon, Jimmy and I were riding back to camp in a horse-drawn sled when someone shot at us from the woods. Shot to kill.
I've been waiting for something like that.
So?
This White Plague legend has been haunting me, Kent, ever since I started working among lumberjacks. Like any legend, it passes from mouth to mouth, and the miracles created by it are manifold. But sooner or later, we discover the legend is being put to good or bad use by some misguided human. So you were shot at, eh?
Yes. Fortunately, neither Jimmy nor I were hit. We got back to camp, and while Mr. Harmon and I were discussing the series of curious accidents, Jimmy and Miss Harmon went out to look at some young raccoons penned up near a shed.
Yes, Dawson mentioned that incident to me.
Oh?
How you followed their footprints in the snow, and they suddenly stopped.
That's right. Did he tell you about the big white bird?
Oh, I know. What was that?
Well, while Dawson and I were searching for Jimmy and Nancy, we heard 2 rifle shots. We ran back and found that Mr. Harmon had fired at what he claimed was a giant bird. A bird he was certain had carried Nancy and Jimmy off. We found one of the feathers on the snow. As a matter of fact, here it is on the mantel here.
Let me see it.
Yeah.
This is very, very curious. Do you know what bird this feather came from, Mr. Kent?
No, I don't, Father.
This is one of the large tail quills of a big male turkey, bleached white.
A turkey?
Yes, that's what it is. I raised them out west when I was a boy, so I should know. This one's been bleached with lime or oxalic acid. The natural color is gray. Tell me more about this bird, Mr. Kent.
There isn't much more I know. Although I could scarcely believe that any bird, even a condor, was strong enough to carry off a human being, the abrupt ending of those footprints in the snow and Mr. Harmon's insistence that he had seen the giant bird made me wonder.
Where did you find Nancy and Jimmy?
In a cabin about 2 miles from here. There was a fire going in the stove, so evidently no permanent harm was meant them. They were both unconscious. I brought them back here, and, well, the rest you know.
Kent, I'm afraid we're dealing with a clever, unscrupulous individual who must be somewhere in this camp.
Well, how do you explain the footprints, Father? I mean, the fact that they ended abruptly and led nowhere.
Well, I can't at the moment. Neither can I explain the bird Mr. Harmon saw, unless it was simply hysteria. Certainly, Fred Harmon doesn't believe in the White Plague now, does he?
I'm beginning to wonder. At times, even Dawson seems to be drawn in by it.
Of course, once Nancy and Jimmy awake and we're able to tell us what happened, why, then we'll know a great deal more than we do now.
Yes.
I wonder who that could be this time of the night.
I'll see. Oh, Dawson, come in.
Why, I thought you turned in, Bill.
Couldn't sleep, Father. This thing's been preying on my mind.
Pull up a chair for yourself.
Thank you.
Mr. Kent here has been telling me all that's happened, Bill. What do you make of it?
Well, right now I'm mixed up, Father. The men will clear out of camp in the morning. They're all scared to death.
What are they afraid of?
You know, same old story. The White Plague.
Are you afraid of it, Bill?
Oh, me? Of course not.
I didn't think so. Well, who's leading the men on? Fear always has a leader, you know.
No one in particular, unless it's Kurt Travers. He keeps telling them the camp's cursed.
We've got to keep the men here, Bill, if only for their own morale. We've got to prove this White Plague legend is just that, a legend.
You're going to have a tough time, Father, I can tell you.
Not if I get your help, Bill. By the way, Bill, do I understand that you said one of the loggers was bitten by a rattler? Now, you know as well as I do that rattlers hole in for the winter.
It was the first thing I could think of at the moment. I mentioned a heart attack, but that didn't work.
Well, how did the man die?
He was poisoned, Father.
What?
Are you sure, Kent?
Positive.
You didn't say nothing to Mr. Harmon or me about that, Kent.
I was keeping it to myself. Someone around here can't be trusted.
Oh, listen, Kent, I don't take that kind of talk.
No. Sit down, Bill. I'm sure Mr. Kent meant no harm.
Better watch what he says.
You're very sensitive tonight, Dawson.
Please, Mr. Kent.
I'm sorry, Father.
How did you happen to discover the man was poisoned, Mr. Kent?
He was sitting on a stump eating lunch when he collapsed. I picked up the remains of the sandwich he dropped when I helped Dawson lift him and carry him to the shed. It was loaded with rat poison, bichloride of mercury.
I don't believe it.
Whether you believe it or not, I happen to have what's left of the sandwich, and I can produce it at the proper time.
Then what all this boils down to is systematic murder. But what possible motive could there be?
Wait a minute. The crew's lunch was packed by the cook. Nobody knew Sam Green was going to get that poisoned sandwich, assuming it was poison.
I don't think it was intended for Green. It didn't matter who got it.
Sounds fishy to me. Don't it to you, Father?
Not if the man who poisoned it was out to create terror and fear of the White Plague, which seems to be the case.
But then why did he try to get rid of Jimmy and myself? Certainly we played no part in the scheme of things.
Unless what, Mr. Kent?
I may be all wet on this, but could it be that the person who tried to kill us doesn't believe that Jimmy and I came here to the camp just for a vacation? Is it possible he thinks I'm spying on him?
That presupposes he has something to hide.
Wait a minute. Thought I heard someone moving around in the back room. Jimmy or Nancy might have regained consciousness. No, I guess not.
Who would have anything to hide in a backwoods logging camp?
It might be a crime committed some time ago.
Yeah, I can see this ain't getting nowhere. Guess I'll turn in. Good night, Father.
Good night, Bill. I trust you can sleep.
Good night, Dawson.
Good night.
I don't like his attitude. Not a bit.
Bill Dawson's all right. Little crude and little gruff, but harmless. You mustn't look for the polish of civilization in these woods, King. There isn't time to acquire it. Men of the North Country spend most of their working hours either fighting for existence or battling nature. Either way, they have a fight on their hands.
So do city people. I assure you life isn't a bed of roses for the unfortunate families who have to live in slum areas.
There you're right. But the problem up here is slightly different. Now, you work at the desk back at your newspaper office, don't you?
Yes.
Well, chances are you never stop to think of the sweat and blood that went into getting the wood for that desk. First, the superhuman labor of felling the tree with a thermometer at 30 degrees below zero, and then carting it to the river in the face of a blinding blizzard, then poling it 50 miles downstream where a misstep means horrible death. All for a desk or a chair or a pencil. These men who do that work face destruction every minute of the day, and all they have to guard against it is their wits and their brawn. You can't expect any social grace.
Oh, I don't, Father Malone. That wasn't my point. It's just that Dawson's been acting strange through all this misfortune. I can't quite understand it.
Well, I had that same trouble when I first arrived here, but I learned fast. They don't talk unless they have something to say. They've never seen anything accomplished by talking. It takes 2 brawny arms and a sharp-bladed axe to fell a tree, not just words. Understand?
I think so.
But you mustn't let me go on like this. No, you were saying that Bill's actions have been strange.
Wait a minute. I thought I heard a voice.
Yeah. Wait, you did. Someone shouting fire.
Look, one of the cabins is blazing. Come on, Father.
Right behind you, Kent. Look at those flames.
Say, you can feel the heat from here. It's terrific.
Those dry pine logs go up like tinder. I wonder whether anyone's in that cabin.
Well, we'll find out. Hey! Is there anyone inside?
Yes! Kurt Travers! He can't get out! He's trapped!
Kurt Travers? Trapped? We've got to take.
Roaring, devastating fire, the woodsman's one deadly fear. Will Kent, even as Superman, be able to save Kurt Travers from the blazing inferno of his log cabin? And can the fire be kept from spreading into the forest beyond the camp? Tune in again for more thrills.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
It's Superman.
Oh my, the plot thickens. 83 years ago, July 4th, 1941, Superman here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please have a safe and careful 4th of July Independence Day celebration. Won't you please? Hope to see you back here tomorrow. With Classic Radio Theater, I'm Wyatt Cox.